Welcome everyone to the launch of the amazing book Thriving, which is all about health is your greatest wealth. And what I wanted to do before we start introducing all the truly amazing authors that have come together to produce this book is I wanted people to understand what YSHIFT is. So Thriving is the name of the book, but it's a part of a YSHIFT series. And YSHIFT stands for Your Share It Forward Teachings. And my belief is that if we can all share forward our stories, if we can all share forward our teachings, together we can change the world. Because we learn things through life experience, we learn things through passion and studying. We all gain knowledge in many different forms. But when we keep that knowledge to ourselves, whether that be a lesson that you've learned through an adversity, whether it's a lesson you've learned due to circumstances, or you've been passionate about something for a particular reason, so you've gone down the rabbit hole and started to really study it and learn more about it. You know, knowledge gained is valuable to yourself, but when people are willing to share forward their teachings, they're willing to share what they've learned that could help another, that to me is something that is dear to my heart, because it really is about, you know, people being selfless. They're really about, you know, sharing forward something that could help another. And what I love about a compilation book is, and it's happened with many compilation books that I've been a part of, or that have been in the start of our series, where somebody has known somebody. They might have known the author, they might have been a part of their tribe or their followings, and they picked up the book because they knew that person. What's so interesting is how many stories we get told where they picked up the book because they knew that person, but they read another chapter that just changed their lives. So remember that when you are sharing this with family and friends, don't just think, oh, they already know my story or they already know about me, because you as an author in a compilation book, you don't know who you can change with the people that you've collaborated with inside of this book. So always be aware that, you know, the great thing also is they're short stories, they're short reads. So you can read one and read another night, but they're just, you know, something that I believe truly in. When people are willing to share forward their teachings and stories, you know, it's something that is dear to my heart, and why I started this series, because there's so many truly amazing people out there that have this great knowledge and have these stories to share. And so I wanted to be able to create a platform for them, and that being the YSHIFT series. It allows us to cover areas like health, wealth, relationships, spirituality. There are so many books, community, business. There's so many books coming out in this series. So please keep an eye out for all the amazing authors that are a part of this YSHIFT movement, a part of this YSHIFT series that is really going to be changing the world through story. So I'd like to introduce you to some of the truly inspiring people that are a part of this book. And, you know, again, when you grab this book from them, from Amazon, from bookstores, wherever you grab this book, be sure to reach out, because the other amazing thing that I like with the authors that I've got is they are contactable. They are within your reach. So if there's something that has touched, moved, and inspired you, send them a message. Tell them thank you for sharing. If you've read something from them and you would like to know more about what they do in their specialist field and how they can help you, be sure to reach out, because all those details are there inside of the book, and they are there to be able to help as many people as they can. So I know that we've got a few people, like I said, that are going to be joining us via video or a bit later, but I'd like to firstly introduce you to Anna. So Anna is an extraordinary woman who has pushed through stroke recovery. Now, sometimes people can go through something in life that's very challenging, but they learn so much from it, and that's where, you know, they can share some of their insights that might help you. And it doesn't mean you have to have gone through a stroke. like Anna, but Anna learned some really, truly amazing, life lessons around human connection. And especially of late, that is needed more and more. So she decided to, really come forward and share some of her true gifts and, her lessons that she's learned in her chapter. So, introduce yourself, Anna. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what are people going to get from your chapter and your lessons?
Thanks, Susan. Well, I am an editor and a writing coach, strangely enough, and I live in Melbourne, and I love Melbourne. I have no family in Melbourne, which for me, I love. So my family are my friends. And when I had my stroke, I found that my friends really stepped up, and my family, well, who, where were they? But one of the things that I've learned is that connection is really important. Obviously, you said I had a stroke. I made a choice when I had my stroke not to be a victim to it, and to push forward and to be the person that I was meant to be. I mean, if I didn't tell you I had a stroke, you wouldn't know. There's nothing that says, there's no label across my forehead, or, there's no imperfection or impairment. I'm very lucky, but I've made the choice to be lucky. I think connection is one of the most important things and makes such a huge difference in people's lives. And certainly with COVID, wow, it's sort of slapped everybody in the face, and people working from home have discovered that, well, it's not quite the same as going into the office every day. And for a lot of people, it was really isolating. And I know some people who, when I spoke to them, they said, I hate it, I can't wait to get back into the office. Whereas for me, I'm saying, I love it. I don't ever want to go back again. One of the things that I found when I started working from home was that, because I love being at home, it wasn't a big deal. But for my co-workers, it was very isolating. And the team that used to be really cohesive and really tight started just floating off in all directions. And even though we had all the different electronic communications, etc., nobody was using them. So we needed something to bring us together. So I decided, well, I can write. I like to write. I will send an email to our team every day, which I did every working day. For 207 days, I wrote an email to my colleagues, and I talked about stuff. I talked about my cats. I talked about my disastrous home renovations. Believe me, painting the bathroom tiles white, worst mistakes ever. I just did it to amuse myself and to keep us all connected. And people loved it. People loved the fact that I included songs, just a link, YouTube link at the end of the email with a song. People would say to me, I'd forgotten how much I liked that song. It gave me something to think about other than sitting here in my kitchen or being alone or being apart from everybody. Thank you for that. My boss loved it because it made him look good, because his boss didn't know that he didn't say you do it. So it was just a fantastic win-win situation for everybody. And when I left, I said, I've had enough now of doing this for other people. I'll do it for me and for my clients. So I help people tell their stories now. And when people share their stories, creating their legacies, as you know, Susan, sharing their stories is the most important thing that anybody can do. It's the best legacy that you can leave somebody, is your story. I mean,
absolutely. And I think what's really important is that, what you did was, like you said, not being that, victim, taking hold of it, doing what you love, sharing it with others, not worried or concerned about that, and then just bringing that human connection back together through words, without actually physically being there, which I know that we all want to get back to, but, really about bringing that about. So thanks so much for that. And I know that people are going to get a lot out of your chapter and can reach out if they want to find out more about what you do. But thanks so much, Anna. And I look forward to introducing some of the other authors. So thanks so much for joining us, and stay on as we go through and meet all of your fellow authors in this particular book.
Thank you.
So next we have the amazing Jane Craig. What can I say, Jane? We've done a book with you, and now we are going to be, sharing a lot of different ways of your story inside of the compilation book. So Jane is a spiritual coach. She inspires people with her story of overcoming depression and divorce to realize that you are your own soulmate. So she is what people call a wellness witch, and her work infuses practical skills and holistic health and knowledge with ritual and spiritual coaching. So welcome again, because I know that we've done an amazing book that I'd like you to also share with the listeners today. There's so much knowledge in your chapter, and there's so much knowledge in your book. But tell people a bit about you and how you can help them and what's in your books.
Okay, thank you, Susan. It's so good to be here, and I'm really excited because I was flicking through my copy today and just looking at everyone's chapters, and I can't wait to dig in and read everyone's stories. Like Susan said, I had the most fun ever publishing a book with you last year, and its title is Magic and Medicine, and it came about in my own lockdown during the pandemic. I started writing my story because I wanted my kids, I've got 4 teenagers, to understand what I was going through after the divorce, because I was married for 20 years, got divorced, kind of fell into a depression, was really struggling because prior to the divorce, I had really high anxiety and panic attacks. And I struggled really deeply. And it wasn't until I started unpacking everything and I realized that it was actually the greatest gift that I never asked for, to be able to rediscover myself and find myself. And a huge part of that journey was not only unlocking my holistic health tools, because I'm a naturopath and medical herbalist by trade as well. So I had that sort of side of me sorted, but like tapping into my vision of spirituality. And for me, I'm a very witchy woo type person, but other people spirituality will look different for everybody. But that key component for me was tuning back into spirit, back into source, and creating rituals and touch points that really just helped me to find the joy and find that authentic voice of myself in my day and in my life. And that's how the book came about. And that's what the chapter essentially is about in this YSHIFT book. And I think a lot of people can relate, because you might not go through a divorce, but you might lose your job. You might have children grow up and leave home, or you might find yourself living in a foreign country, or there's a death in the family or something like that, that really shakes you to the core. Everyone at some stage is going to have their moment, like, who the heck am I? Where have I gone? Where have I given all those pieces away? And that's kind of what my chapter is about, how to reconnect with yourself.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And you're absolutely right. I think what people, don't realize that, even if it's not the exact thing, like a stroke or a divorce or something that is exactly the same happen, the lessons that you can learn that are shared, by yourself and many of the other authors, can be relevant to other things. So it's really important that, the readers understand that all the little stories you'll get lessons out of, or learnings that can help you either now in your life, or they're things that you can remember, that if something does come up, you've got some tools and techniques and some different things that you can learn. So thank you so much. And like I said, Magic and Medicine, there's the amazing book that you've written as well, and the chapter that you share with these other beautiful people. So thank you so much. And look forward to people connecting with you too, Jane. Now we are going to introduce our next author. And we are trying to balance it out here a bit because we now have a male. So Mark Collins is a warrior dad, a founder of U School, and Mark shares his knowledge about the effect of mindful living, you know, on health, because, you know, after learning about holistic healing and alternative medicine that maybe wasn't in his awareness, you know, without giving away his story, I'll let Mark share with you, but he has learned something that, you know, has not only changed his life, but obviously changed his son and, you know, everyone's life around him. So welcome, Mark, and introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your story.
Yeah, well, my story originates in my hometown in the bottom of South Australia, and it's because of my son that I've done what I've done. He came into the world a little bit late, and has basically had health struggles ever since, namely epilepsy, which was diagnosed at 5 years old. We went through the conventional channels for him, neurologists and Western medicine, for a number of years without much change. So I was at the sort of wit's end with all of that, and just thought I have to do something different here. So I did, and I'm forever glad that I did, because I learnt more just as much about myself as I did about anything else, which was probably just as important. I learnt the power of energy and the unseen, and which has translated down to my son and made a big difference. I just started simply with some meditation, and gradually went along from there as what I learnt and what I found was working for him. As I said, all the way along, I'm learning more about myself and how I got to this point. And I had my own health struggles a long time ago now. It seems like a totally different lifetime ago. I was diagnosed with cancer when I was reasonably young, a young adult. And just to share a little bit of what's actually in my chapter in the story, I had a week where in between diagnosis, and I had a week of not knowing whether it had spread anywhere or not. And this is what's really kickstarted it for me, looking back, that I was in an absolutely large amount of pain for that week, just stressing and worrying about what my future was going to hold and what was going to happen to me. But as soon as that news came through that nothing had gone anywhere else and it was very treatable, instantly pain gone. So I learned straight away then that the mind and our own perception has a lot to do with the way we live and the things that happen to us. So once my son came along and his issues presented themselves, I thought, well, things haven't worked that I was hoping would. I'm going to have to take charge here. So I did. And that opened up a whole new world for me, literally. I gave away the safety of my family car business. I became a neuro-linguistic practitioner and hypnosis practitioner. I've done many things that I didn't even know existed, probably even 3 years ago. So I'm really grateful to be here now, and probably the number one thing I've learned out of all this is that love trumps everything.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks so much, Mark. And really, the story is truly inspiring. You're going to read a bit more about all the great things that come out of, not only what you learned, Mark, for yourself, but, how by taking control, your son's life is forever changed. And it's truly amazing. There's a great video there that you can watch that tells the story, but yeah, you have to read the book to get the whole story. So thank you so much, Mark. And I look forward to people reading, the full story of yours in the chapter, and just connecting with you and where you're going in your big discovery now. So truly amazing story, and good on you as a father for taking charge of not only your own life, but what you've been able to do to change your son's life. So very inspiring. So thanks so much. Now we would like to move on to what we got next. Wow, we've got the amazing Julie Dare, who is a Muslim naturopath. She preaches that prevention is better than cure, and she knows that setting foundations for optimal mental health, physical and spiritual wellness, including through nutrition, is the key to health. So I would love you to share a bit about what you're doing and, introduce yourself and yeah, tell us about a little bit of what's in your chapter and a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Really appreciate it. And I also want to just say thank you, Mark, Jane, and Anna, for sharing your stories. Really inspirational. And I think it really hits home, Susan, what you said before in relation to what I've heard today and when I've read the chapters of the other authors. Even when you think you know someone, you don't really know them until you, I don't know, maybe reading a book that they've written or a passage that they've written is so much more different than what you think you know about them. And I suppose that's just how life is in terms of the many facades we have, or the many faces that we have. My name's Julie Dare. I've been working as a naturopathic practitioner since I graduated, I think, in 2010. At the moment, I'm working in pediatrics only, so it means I'm looking after age 0 to 12 children specifically. And I probably chose this niche more so in the last 1 to 2 years because I realized, unfortunately, and I know every other co-author here will definitely agree with this, even though we're at such a place in terms of technology and modern medicine and all that jazz, sickness or childhood illness, neurological issues in children are absolutely skyrocketing. And it almost is an oxymoron to having a look at the 21st century where we've got the best technology and the best medical treatment, etc., available, but we and our children are more sick than we've ever been before. So my chapter in Thriving pretty much focuses on a lot of what every other author, what the other 11 authors are doing too in their own space, which is making that connection relative to A, prevention is better than cure, and B, there is no way, it doesn't matter what our belief system is. Like Jane said, everyone has a different translation and understanding of what spirituality is, but no one can deny the fact that we are on a 3-dimensional plane, but we're spiritual beings. So we can't disconnect our spiritual self from our physical body. And as a result, we must heal spiritually in order to heal physically. And I think Mark saw that firsthand in his experience with his son, 100%. And I think the same thing with Jane and Anna's stroke. I mean, I love the way that, she said, she got better and she has nothing of stroke left because that's what she wanted for herself. Had she been a victim to her circumstances, would she have healed as much as she had healed? Right. So pretty much that's what my chapter focuses on. Thank you so much for the opportunity today.
Yeah, look, you're an absolute wealth of knowledge, and I love that you bring in, even though you are coming from the Muslim naturopath, you really encompass all race, all religion, all beliefs in what you teach, and you have a wealth of knowledge to share. So, definitely read the chapter. Everyone here is connected in the sense that we're all here to, to look at ourselves as being the healers, and and just getting some more knowledge, because we don't know what we don't know. So thank you so much for sharing that. And you've got to read the chapter and start getting into all of these amazing authors and all their different takes on this, but it's still all, we come together because we know that health is your greatest wealth, and it's really about having, you know, our health allows us to be, you know, great partners, great mothers, great business people, you know, to be able to give back in the community, to be able to be the best for ourselves. Because, you know, as they say, it doesn't matter how much money you've got in the world, you don't have your health, you know, it's really hard to enjoy anything. So what I love is that people really are, you know, taking on, we collectively together are taking on and being responsible for, and being, you know, victors and taking ownership for our health. And all the listeners here and the people that are reading the book, you know, you're going to get this message that will have some commonality throughout. So listen to that, because a lot of people, you know, it's about, you know, waking yourself up to what's out there, and you know, just learning more. So thank you so much again, and Juliette, and we have got now moving on to Fer. So Fer, we have got, Fer is a doctor of medicine and a public speaker. Fer shows us how to overcome the predicted disability of an autoimmune disease and live life to its fullest potential. You know, her vision is to enable women to transform the conversation of our culture, because what we say or do not say, which is what we were just talking about, will affect the well-being of generations to come. So thank you so much for being a part of this, and you know, please tell people about yourself and you know, a little bit about your chapter.
Susan, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's great to be here. I'm really loving meeting all the other authors as well. I've read all of your chapters. I'm totally impressed. And yes, Susan, what you said is so true. The fact is, for me, what I truly believe as a naturopath, as a doctor of natural medicine and an empowerment coach and a speaker, is that there's more than one pathway to get the result that we want, to have that well-being, to have our health in check, and to be in balance. I talk about stress as a key indicator for disease starting to happen. I also want the listener, the reader, to know more than anything else is that the body has a greater capacity for healing than it does for illness or disease. And that's really powerful information for us to know, because that puts the power back in our hands. And so it should, because we're really powerful, and the body has a huge capacity to heal. And energetically, if we're looking after ourselves and managing stress in a really empowered way, there's no reason that even me with an autoimmune disease where I was meant to end up disabled and have walking frame or a wheelchair, I was able to turn that around because of managing stress, putting the right nutrients in my body. And that was a journey for me, personal to me, discovering what my body needed, what I needed, what brought balance to me. So there's many ways to go. There's acupuncture, there's nutrition, there's massage, there's hypnotherapy, there's a myriad of ways to get to the same outcome. And really all the body wants is balance. And if we can find that balance, then that's key to us living a long and healthy, happy life. Yeah. And so I'm just really excited that everyone in the book, there's a key theme, which is taking charge of your own well-being. And I truly believe that's the key now in this century and beyond.
Beautiful. Yeah, some really great points there. And you know, and really you are correct. It really is about, we've all got this key message, but we can hear things in different ways, and we can maybe look at somebody that we resonate with as a reader, that we want to connect with, that's going to help us on our journey. And really it's just about taking charge, taking some action. You know, in your health, you've just got to take some action, because, you know, I'd love you to repeat that again. I think you said something along the line that what our body, you know, I think it was, you know, you can correct me, but what I got from that was, you know, our body, our our unconscious mind is there to protect us, but our body is wanting to be well more than it is unwell. And I know you said it in a much different way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I said that the human body, or any creature, the cat, the dog, any creature, has a greater capacity for healing than it does for disease or unwellness. So it takes a lot to actually get us out of balance. And we know that we live in a stressful world, and that we probably self-soothe more than we should. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that when we self-regulate, that's something I talk about, is self-regulating mindset and behavior. That's really key. So that's why it's a personal journey, as long as we're self-regulating that balance. So yeah, we have a greater capacity to heal no matter what we're going through. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we regain 100%, but it definitely means that we can have a level of wellness that we might not otherwise have, such as having a stroke and having no signs of a stroke. I mean, that's absolutely possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks so much for sharing. I think that, you know, like I said, it's about taking charge, and what everybody has said here, it's about taking charge, but it's just so much knowledge here that the authors are sharing. And, you know, it doesn't have to be an autoimmune disease, but there's a lot out there. So, you know, the other thing to remember with this book is you may know somebody, you may know a friend that could really benefit from this. So, you know, when you're looking at buying a copy, you know, all of these authors are selling the books. Support them, go and, you know, buy off them, get out there, but buy the book and share the book around, because that's what's really, really important, is that we share this with people. It might not just be for ourselves. It can be sharing it with someone that you could get them a gift of this book that can truly change their lives. So, you know, remember that when grabbing a copy. Now, there's a couple of people that we're going to get through, because I know that I want to get through everyone here. And then, like I said, I'll share a couple about the other authors that can't be here today. But next we have Tanya. So Tanya is a health coach, a hypnotherapist, and she shares her knowledge about having an appetite for healthy living, a mind and body approach, and what it really means, what it truly means to be healthy. So over 15 years of experience under her belt. You know, welcome, Tanya. I know that we've done some online courses together, and there's lots of knowledge that you're going to be sharing through that as well. But thank you for being part of the chapter, and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you very much, Susan. And yeah, hi everyone. And yeah, it's been so wonderful listening to everyone so far as well. Yeah, so in my chapter, I talk about how I started out, I suppose, in my career, if you like. I've always had this like passion for health, well-being, and particularly food as well. So I initially studied like clinical nutrition. I loved like the clinical side of it, and knowing the intricacies of the human body, all about food and the science and the nutrition and how that all works as well. However, I did see like a gap in there. So like I saw all these like regulations and policies around what healthy eating is and what we need to be, you know, telling people, and ideally what we need to be eating and not eating. But then I saw the other side of it, as in, okay, what's really out there in the world? What are people exposed to on a daily basis, walking around the supermarkets? What's marketing and advertising telling people to eat? What's people's lifestyles like? So I saw, I suppose, like this two opposing forces, or the same side of or to the two sides of the same coin, if you like. And then I thought, that's okay, I'll just go into the food industry. Let's change, let's make some like big changes here. And yeah, that you know, that can work in, you know, some ways. And I did my own food businesses and worked with people that were aligned with how I, you know, thought and what I knew and my knowledge as well. And then trying to work with like the big food companies, I saw, hang on, they don't really align with that. It's more about like, you know, the bottom dollar and what works well for food production. Yeah, so I saw, okay, how can we tell society to like eat this way, and you know, yeah, eat your 5 to 7 serves of veggies a day, you know, like what was out there in the food pyramid at the time. But then you've got that's not really what's reflected in like a mainstream supermarket, and getting people who have really busy lives, like, you know, full-time jobs, kids, businesses, you know, just maintaining their day to day, getting them to shop at, you know, farmers markets instead, or, you know, drive all this extra distance like on your weekend when it's your only time, or maybe your kids have sport, or maybe that's your downtime, the time you like to relax. Go do your food shopping then. You know, in theory, that's all great and all, but that doesn't suit everyone. So yeah, and I loved working with people to educate them. And I did, you know, work as much as I could with people to educate them, because I wanted them to have not only the knowledge that I had, but make these changes for their health and well-being. Because, you know, people come to you and they are desperate for change. They are desperate to either lose that weight, to correct whatever illness they have, to get their energy back, better, even, yeah, mood, like whatever it is, like they really want to make these changes. But then they had all these habits that were ingrained in them as well. So sometimes it didn't matter like what information I gave them, what I shared with them. They would make some changes, but these habits would always come back in, and stress would be a factor. You know, life events would happen, and they'd be like, oh, it's 2 a.m. And I always knew the power of the mind. I've always had a very curious mind, and I've always been able to, I suppose, talk myself in or out things as well. No, I don't believe that we are just who we are, because you think when you're, I thought everyone's born and we're just born into this world, and whatever you're exposed to, whatever like thoughts, yeah, you have, what words you hear, what things you see, that kind of like shapes you and your perception. And two people can see like the same thing and have like a different viewpoint of that, or you can hear the same thing and you can take something completely different from it and hear it in like twins, for example, right? And they can be two so different, yet they're exposed to the same thing like for many years when they're growing up. And then I came across coaching and hypnotherapy, and I thought, wow, this is going to be such a great tool for me to take this, you know, nutrition knowledge and how I want to work with people to better their health, but essentially change what they do in a way that they can just do it because this is the person who they are. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go off and do this. So I became a hypnotherapist and a coach. And so now I work with people. I still use all my clinical knowledge on nutrition and what I know about health and well-being and the good habits, the foundational habits that ideally we would all have, and it would eliminate, you know, inflammation and so many lifestyle diseases and how they start. If we could, you know, ideally get rid of that, that would be amazing. And so I work with people now to change their habits so they can do these things when it comes to, yeah, what they eat, when they eat, how they eat, why they eat. So yeah, emotional eating, just the ingrained habits that people think, oh, it's just who I am. So removing those from them, and yeah, helping them with like motivation around exercise, getting rid of those beliefs that they have about themselves, so that they can align their habits with what they actually want when it comes to their health and well-being.
Beautiful.
So,
yeah,
yeah.
Thank you so much. There's so much I know that you have knowledge around that, and what's so great about what Tanya shares in, you know, her chapter, and you know, is that knowledge all brought together. So there's lots of different things that Tanya's brought together, but what's so good is that, you know, I've seen Tanya in the kitchen, and she can teach you how to make, you know, nutritious meals really delicious. So just because they're healthy, it doesn't mean that that they have to be, you know, not nice tasting. I've tasted the most amazing things that Tanya has brought together. So thank you so much, Tanya. Read her chapter, connect with Tanya. You know, as we know, food is a real, you know, big indicator in the health, you know, what we eat. But if we can make it taste really nice, and if we can also, you know, work with someone that can help us get those habits that we want it so bad, but sometimes we've just got some unconscious, some limiting beliefs, some patterns that we've got that we need to break. So Tanya can sort of help people not only with nutritious food, but how to break some of those, you know, habits that aren't helping us. So thank you so much. Next, we are going through to Monique. So as most of you know, Monique is my daughter, as well as works within Dean Publishing. But what some of you may not know is that Monique started in the self-development. You know, I was, you know, lucky enough to start down this path very early. So for me, it was really getting my children involved, having them be exposed to things that I was never exposed to as a young child. I, you know, wasn't exposed to as a teenager. I wish, you know, they say, you know, what are some of the things that you wish you could, you know, tell your younger self? It's like, hey, there's this other world out there that you can learn about around health and wealth and all of these things. So Monique started in the self-development world quite early, and she now, by the choice of her own, also has her own little coaching business where she helps others. So Monique, tell people about you and what's in your chapter.
Thank you. Thanks for the amazing introduction, Mum. So yeah, basically, like you said, I started in the self-development world when I was just 8 or 9, I think I was. And yeah, it really opened my eyes. I didn't realize that this wasn't common for people, that sort of this happened later in their lives. And I think it was when I returned back from one of Tony Robbins' events, and I was talking about it, how I walked on fire and this and that, and no one had any idea, and they sort of just blew it off like it was nothing because they hadn't heard of it. And yeah, so that sort of started me really thinking about joining coaching and sharing my message with people that are young. I do coach people from 13 to 30, women in particular. And yeah, like I said, I think it's really interesting, how powerful the mind is, but also, that people don't really understand. They think that getting a personal trainer to work on their fitness, and focusing on their nutrition, they get a tutor if they're no good at maths. They get lessons in horse riding if they want to improve. And I think when people want to improve their mental health, I think it's becoming more known right now. But back when I started, it was really unknown. So my goal was, much like you said, bringing me and your children into self-development. Mine was really just to share it with people that were younger, and just really get them to understand the importance of it. It's not something that you see advertised and that sort of thing. So my chapter really talks about just really easy steps to get into working on your mindset from a young age, but also throughout life. And I think my message to everyone is really that you don't have to be in a bad place to work on your mindset. You can start when you're in a great mindset, because when you go into a dark place, or when things happen, like everyone sort of mentioned, life is stressful with work and study and everything like that. If you have these tools to implement when stress and the pressures of life come towards you, it's really good to implement them and know a bit about mindset. So that's really what my chapter is about. I think it's really exciting to be alongside these other authors and share the message. I feel like we've all got a message that comes together, and it really is, the mind is so powerful, and that if you sort of work on different aspects of that, as well as your nutrition and exercise, it's really, really important and exciting to read everyone's chapters. But yeah, that's a bit about me.
Fantastic. So yes, I am, as you all know, proud mom. But what I love is Monique, works with young people to open up their minds that maybe they didn't, they weren't, as lucky as Monique to have a parent that was open to this early on, that could introduce them to it. Sometimes, you know, they don't know, and they might be stuck in a simple thing like feeling they don't fit in. And Monique talks about finding their spot in life, which I really love. And just opening up. She, you know, had the opportunity to be open to this. And I love the fact that you don't, you know, you can be successful. I say to people, self-development is, it's a bit like health. You know, let's look at prevention. You know, to me, self-development is also a method of health in prevention, because like Monique mentioned, you can be successful, and self-development will make you more successful because you're getting more and more in touch, but also, you know, a healthy mind, healthy body, and opening this up to younger people, which is fantastic. So thank you, Monique, for, you know, wanting to do this and share it with the world as well. So next up, we are going to go to Robert Hall. So Robert has a story that he will be sharing. He was a jockey, so you know, back as a part of his life journey, and he had a episode that was quite traumatic, and you know, not even that long ago. So something that's quite recent. But what I like is that Robert has, you know, even though it's been quite a recent thing of the past few years, it's something that he's grasped and got some great lessons that I'm sure that people will get, you know, some really good insights in. So welcome, Robert. If you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit. They don't need to know all of it because they need to buy the book to read the whole story, but tell us a little bit about what, you know, you want to share with people, and yeah, just a snippet to give them a teaser.
Susan, thanks. And firstly, I just want to say thank you to yourself and all the team at Dean Publishing for putting together such a great book with, as you say, 13 different authors, 13 totally different stories, but you know, there is a lot of benefit there for everyone, and stories for people to take out. As you mentioned, yes, many, many moons ago, I was a jockey, but what I suppose I speak more about in the book, and we talk about more recently, just prior to COVID, it was only 2019 on the 16th of August when I had my accident. I simply slipped over, and everybody, we all sort of thought, the doctors and that, it was a broken leg at the time. And yes, that's what it was. And I sort of thought 3 months, yeah, we'll be back at work, back at the gym, because I was at the gym 5 days a week and all that sort of stuff. But how wrong we were, because well, last year, for instance, I had 34 operations. We're not too sure how many the year before. But I suppose in the book, what I talk a little bit about is the power of the mind, because during COVID, I spent the whole of the lockdowns in hospital. For 4.5 months, I wasn't allowed out of bed. You get no visitors. And during that time, I learned the power of meditation and how all those sorts of things, but also expressing your feelings to people out there can help you. I remember the first 2 times when 2 of the nurses came in. One was Epworth Hawthorne and Epworth Eastern, and simply asked the question of how I am, but they probably got me on a bad day because I'm not a person that cries, but I just broke down. That was it. But letting it out and talking to people and letting other people in, I say other people, family and friends, but also professional people, being the psychiatrists and the psychologists, because they can actually help you break it down in steps and then help you move on. One of the biggest things I believe, which I've always been through my life, because I've had a couple of injuries, but that can all be spoken about later on, is remaining positive, because being positive and putting the positive vibes out there, people want to help you. During my stay in hospital, one of the things that we used to do every day in network, there's a big board caring for your patients between the nurses, the physios, and as I say, the psychologists. We all used to put a quote up there every day. I used to do that prior to going into hospital on Facebook, and a lot of people loved it. But when I was in hospital and people were seeing it, I was sending a lot of positive feedback from people outside to me, which I really enjoyed, which made me want to get out and get going and then get on to helping other people and improving their life and moving forward. So that's just a little bit. probably a little bit longer than what you wanted, but no, I think if you can remain positive, so many people will want to help you. And like Anne said at the start, you know, it's when you do get injured, you find out who your true friends and family are, but it's amazing who in the community, who are your friends and who are your family that actually stand up and not only helped me, I'll say, helped my beautiful wife and family, because you've got to remember that you're not the only one that's struggling. It's the people that are around you that suffer a lot as well.
Yeah, look, so much great messages. Thank you, Robert, inside of your chapter. And if you want to read the whole story, definitely grab, you know, the book and learn. There's a lot in Robert's sharing as well. And what I really love about what he talks about too is speaking up. So many, you know, more so men, you know, don't want to show that vulnerability. They don't want to show up. They're, you know, they can get through this. It's, you know, I'm that tough guy. And, you know, it's that episode of, you know, boys don't cry, you know, get up and things like that. The problem is that, you know, when you can see other people that are of a, you know, great stature as Robert, you know, someone that's been out there in the community, you know, very, very successful real estate agent, you know, it was walking out of a property and a simple slip. There's so many messages in it. A simple fall as we get older can be, you know, life-changing and life-threatening, as you'll read in, you know, with Robert. But I think what's so important is the message as well. Yes, ask for help and get help, but speak up, you know. So this, again, so many messages in this book for everybody. And, you know, I really thank everyone for being really vulnerable and sharing their stories, because this is truly what YSHIFT is about. When you share forward your stories, you don't know the life that you can change, and you don't know, you know, who's going to pick up that book, who's going to pick up the book and, you know, read it, and it can truly change their lives. So there is a couple of authors that I'd like to mention that couldn't be here. The amazing Myrna, she's a lifestyle advocate and a mother. She found herself struggling in the workplace as she got older, and she learned that you can take control of your health through lifestyle changes and awareness of risk factors. So, you know, one of the quotes she said is, amid all our wanting in you know, is to live life till its fullest. A piece of the puzzle is often missing, a lack of attention to our health stemming from an ignorance towards the risk factors of food we eat and the lifestyle habits, things like that. But what I love about Myrna is she looks amazing for her age. And you don't tell a woman's age. I'll let her tell you if she wants. But, you know, she's also got this real youthfulness about her. And how, you know, for all the ladies out there, if you look after your health, it actually, you know, it obviously affects your skin, it affects your hair, it affects everything. So you feel better because you're looking better, but you can tell because, you know, your eyes are brighter. Everything about that is through your health. So, you know, if you are someone that's wanting to look great, you know, you can tell a healthy person as well. So that's, you know, Myrna, you can read about her in the chapter. The other people that I would like to mention is Fred. Fred has also done a book with us, which is called Sweat, Swear and Smile, if I've got that in the right order. He's a personal trainer and a fitness coach. And yes, it's Sweat, Swear and Smile. Great title of a book, which is his book. You can purchase that as well. But he lives by it and he coaches others through it. So Fred's commitment to testing fitness techniques has empowered truly incredible results for him and hundreds of his clients. Every client I work with, he says, knows that they'll receive more than just personal training. It's not simply physical training. We also train the mind to go beyond its former limitations. So we know that Fred works, you know, he's done some bodybuilding, and he's, you know, of the nice, you know, ripe age, like myself, hit the 50s. And, you know, he looks sensational for his age. He works with people, again, around their mindset, around their fitness, you know, worked with a lot of men that sort of get rid of that middle belly and, you know, look like and feel better than what they did in their 20s. So you can read all about Fred's chapter and how, you know, the physical body, you know, can transform, you know, with the great mindset and support that you need. So the other amazing people, we've got a couple more to go, and I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody. So Erica has a book that she wrote also with us called Confidence Feels Like Shit. Great title. An amazing book that I recommend that you jump on and purchase as well. But in Erica's chapter, again, another author looking at health from another perspective. Erica is, you know, the confidence queen. And what's so great about Erica is that you know, again, it's the different ways that we look at health, because our mind is so powerful. But when we can deal with our past, when we can feel confident in who we are and what we do, it really can make a difference to our health, because we're not really giving, you know, people the energy, you know, that Jules Adet talked about earlier. It's the energy that we can give people, the energy that we can give ourselves that's negative if we allow that. So what I love about what Erica does is she really gets you to embrace who you are and gets you to, you know, embrace your confidence and not really give a shit about what's happening out there. Who are you and what do you want to do in life, and how do you want to embrace it with confidence? So definitely, you know, have, you know, check out her chapter, have a look at her book called Confidence Feels Like Shit, and she's got a podcast and all. So be sure to connect with Erica and find out more about what she's doing. The other person that is a part of our book is the amazing Don Tolman. So he, obviously it's like about 4 o'clock in the morning. So he lives in a beautiful part of Mexico. So he has, you know, wanted to share a message with everybody that I'd like to play. He is a big advocate of this book. And I just have to tell you a quick little story after he shares about what happened with this book and why this book is going to be pretty amazing already. But let's hear from Don what he has to say.
Hi there, this is Don Tolman. I've been known as the whole food and medicine man for over 57 years publicly as an international global speaker. I've been teaching the wisdom of our ancestors that were the healers. And it's all coming back finally, slowly, but it is coming back finally. And this book, Thriving, is going to bless thousands and thousands of lives and possibly millions. This book, Thriving, being health is your greatest wealth, is the absolute truest truth. We all need to become our own doctors, which means teacher. And we need to be our own physicians, which means healer. Doctor, physician meant literally to teach yourself how to heal yourself. And that's one of the most incredible good things you can ever have. And I love this book, Thriving. Thriving means to prosper, to flourish, to live at your highest level of health and wellness and happiness. And this is what this book is going to do for people. I promise you, and I hope in my heart of hearts, that you'll get this book, Thriving, and have it in your home and tell your friends and neighbors about it so that they will get it too. We live in the age of Aquarius, which is the age of liquids. And it's the liquids in our plants that are there. That's where the juices come from. That's where our health comes from. It's from the plants. And this book, Thriving, with different healers and others, and the inspiring information they share is absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
So that's a beautiful message that Don wanted to, you know, share with you. But I have to tell you very quickly, funny story before we move on to our very last and not least author, Marcus. Don had shared with me as we were speaking the other day. He said, look, I've gone through the book, I'm reading it all, and I put it down to go to the toilet. He said, I come back and the book was gone. He said, someone stole my book. And I had to send this book off across to Florida, and then it had to DHL across to him in a beautiful part of Mexico. And he said, I cannot believe it. He said, I went up to the lady and she said, look, someone actually sat down and they grabbed the book and they went off with it. He said, we'll try and find who it is, but someone took your book. So I thought it was interesting. Of course, Don said, well, she must have needed it and wanted it. And it was something that she cherished, so she took it. So I thought that was very interesting. So I'm obviously going to be sending him, another copy. He's got a few more copies coming his way. But yeah, I thought that was interesting that the book's already making its way into people's hands, even when someone just nicks away for a very short period of time. So the last one, and not least, I want to share with you is Marcus.
Hey guys, Marcus Pearce here, and what an absolute joy it is to be a part of the latest installment of the YSHIFT series. It is called Thriving. Some remarkable mentors of mine in there, all about health and wellness. Don Tolman, what a legend, and a number of people in there sharing their wisdom. I am magnificently obsessed with helping people live their exceptional lives, to rise to magnificent, and sometimes from mediocre in all 8 areas of life. Because let's face it, if you don't have your health, the wheels can come falling off very quickly and somewhat disastrously in all other areas of life. And so I think getting a lot of people together to share their stories, to share their insights, to share their knowledge is really important, because health is not just about what you eat, and it's not just about how you move. There's a whole lot more that goes into it, and those ingredients are in this latest edition. So thanks to everyone at Dean Publishing for having me in this edition of YSHIFT and Thriving. Hope you enjoy it. May the rest of your life be the best of your life.
So yes, that's a message from Marcus. He also has done a book with us, Your Exceptional Life, which is all around different parts of health as well. So again, thank you so much, everybody, for being a part of this book, being a part of the YSHIFT series, which is just the beginning. We have some truly inspiring authors in the first book, which was around mindset, which is under resilience. So if you haven't looked at that book, please jump on and also have a look at the first book in the mindset series called Resilience. But in the meantime, Thriving is a book that's out now. Make sure you grab a copy, make sure that you share it with your friends. As Don Tolman says, it's really about, sharing the message forward, as everyone here has a different message to share, but we all have come collectively together to talk about how, health is your greatest wealth, healthy mindsets. There's stories in there about, how to overcome autoimmune, how to overcome illnesses, falls. There is so many, people that have shared in this book that are really, truly inspiring. For those that have been able to join us tonight in the launch, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your lessons, your teachings forward. Because together we can change the world if we just share forward our knowledge. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to those authors that, shared a message or that sent in their well wishes. I know that they're out there promoting this book. It's just the beginning of us. We are a community now. We're a family of creating this YSHIFT movement. And, truly thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I know that readers to come are going to be thanking you with all the stories that they're going to be sharing.